welcome to the deep dive. This one is for you.
Yeah.
You, because we know you're itching to go beyond the Marvel mainstream, explore a character kind of shrouded in shadow.
And that character, my friend, is none other than Nicholas Scratch.
That's right. We're talking about the son of the infamous Agatha Harkness. And look, after WandaVision, everyone and their pet rabbit knows Agatha, right?
Right.
But Nicholas, he's a whole other story. And frankly, that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Because for someone with his, lineage
Yeah.
and the sheer havoc he's reaped, he flies remarkably under the radar.
Exactly. But not for long. Not today. We've cracked open the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, and we dug into some of his, key comic appearances. And let me tell you, things are about to get magically messy.
To truly grasp the depths of Nicholas Scratch, you have to start at the beginning.
Okay, so paint me a picture. Where does this twisted tale begin?
Okay, imagine being raised in a town called New Salem, hidden from the world, populated entirely by magic users, descended from, you guessed it, the Salem witch trials. This is Scratch's childhood, steeped in power, paranoia, and a legacy that's both a blessing and a curse.
Talk about pressure. Living up to that family history, I'd be a nervous wreck.
And this is where the seeds of resentment towards his mother, Agatha Harkness, begin to take root. You see, Agatha chose a different path. She embraced the outside world, rejecting New Salem's isolationist mentality. She even becomes a nanny to Franklin Richards, son of the Fantastic Four's Reed, and Sue Richards.
So it's not just that she left, she went full suburban mom with the superhero set.
Precisely. And for Scratch, this betrayal cuts deep. It's not just mommy issues. It's a complete rejection of his entire world, his heritage, everything he's ever known.
And that festering anger mixed with his own, considerable magical abilities, that's a recipe for disaster. It's like that Shakespearean quote, "The sins of the father are to be laid upon the children."
Except in this case, it's more like the perceived sins of the mother. And the fallout, it's spectacularly destructive. Scratch doesn't just stew in his resentment, he weaponizes it. He turns the entire community of New Salem against his own mother.
Wow, talk about holding a grudge. But it's also more than that, right? He manages to manipulate an entire community of, powerful magic users. That speaks to a cunning intellect and a ruthlessness we don't often see.
It's fascinating how Scratch exploits the very history of New Salem against Agatha. He twists their past persecution into a narrative of her betrayal, preying on their fear of the outside world.
It makes you think. What kind of person could orchestrate such a thing? Was this cold, calculated manipulation? Or was it fueled by something deeper, something wounded within Scratch himself?
What we do know is that Agatha is put on trial for treason against New Salem. And to really stick the knife in, Scratch orchestrates the kidnapping of Franklin Richards.
Okay, now that is just cruel. No wonder the Fantastic Four got involved. You do not mess with a powerful sorceress and her surrogate superhero family.
It's a power move of the highest order, turning Agatha's love for Franklin against her.
But on a, meta level. It also shows us that Scratch understands the power of family. He weaponizes it against Agatha, using it to justify his actions. It's twisted, sure, but undeniably effective.
And this, my friend, is just the tip of the iceberg. The conflict with Agatha is just the first act in Scratch's story. And trust me, the stakes only get higher from here.
Okay, so we've got Scratch manipulating an entire community, turning them against his own mother, even, bringing the Fantastic Four down on their heads. You'd think that would satisfy even the most, vengeful of sorcerers. But something tells me this is just the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. Scratch may have won this round, but victory comes at a cost.
Right.
Remember, New Salem thrives on secrecy. Their whole existence depends on staying hidden from the outside world, dragging the Fantastic Four into the mix. That's not exactly keeping a low profile.
Talk about a PR nightmare. Welcome to New Salem, home of magic, mystery, and occasional superhero brawls. Not exactly the best tourism campaign.
Exactly. And the citizens of New Salem are not happy. They realize they've been manipulated, used as pawns in Scratch's vendetta against his mother.
So what happens? Does Scratch try to justify his actions, double down on his claims against Agatha?
He tries, but the damage is done. The New Salem community, recognizing the gravity of his betrayal, decides on a course of action that is both fitting and brutal. They banish Nicholas Scratch to the dark dimension.
Wow. Talk about adding insult to injury. So being stripped of his leadership wasn't enough. They had to send him to a dimension ruled by, Dormammu. That feels a bit extreme.
Extreme, yes, but also symbolic. The dark dimension is a place of chaos, of raw, untamed magical energy. It's a fitting punishment for someone who is, like, so fully given himself over to darkness.
But you know what they say, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And something tells me this exile only hardens Scratch's resolve. It's like forging steel in the fires of a volcanic eruption.
Precisely. Scratch is nothing if not resilient. He uses his time in the dark dimension to hone his abilities, to commune with even darker forces. This is where he starts to forge alliances with entities like Dormammu, making deals that will have far-reaching consequences.
Okay, hold on a minute. Dormammu, as in arch-nemesis of Doctor Strange, ruler of the dark dimension, being of pure mystical energy, Dormammu.
One and the same. Scratch isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, to make deals with devils, so to speak. And in Dormammu, he sees a powerful patron, someone who can help him achieve his ultimate goal, revenge against Agatha and New Salem.
So what, is he going to challenge them to, like, a magical duel? Unleash Dormammu upon the unsuspecting citizens of New Salem? I'm on the edge of my seat.
Scratch's plans are far more insidious than that. He's learned from his mistakes, recognizing that brute force alone won't be enough. He needs something more. And that's when he sets his sights on a new target, Franklin Richards.
Wait, what? Franklin? But he's just a kid, a ridiculously powerful kid, sure. But still, a kid. What could Scratch possibly gain from targeting him?
Scratch recognizes that Franklin is no ordinary child. He's a Nexus being, a font of, like, unimaginable cosmic power. By possessing Franklin, Scratch doesn't just gain power, he gains control of a weapon that could reshape reality itself.
Okay. Now that is just chilling. It shows a whole other side of Scratch. A willingness to exploit innocence, to manipulate those weaker than himself. It makes you wonder, was there ever any good in him? What do you think, listener? Could someone capable of such an act ever truly redeem themselves?
It's a question that haunts Scratch's story. But before we delve further into his descent, let's take a closer look at the depths of his depravity in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, we're back. And honestly, after that last reveal, I need a minute to, like, process. Scratch possessing Franklin Richards, that's a whole new level of twisted. Even for a Marvel villain. It's like he's decided to mainline chaos.
You're not wrong. But remember, Scratch is playing a long game here. He's not just interested in, like, raw power. He wants to dismantle everything Agatha holds dear. And what better way to strike at her than through her surrogate son, twisting his potential for good into something darker.
It's like he's trying to prove a point, that even the purest of intentions can be corrupted, that Agatha's world is built on, like, shaky ground.
That's a very astute observation. And this theme of corruption, of twisting the familiar into something unsettling, it plays out in other aspects of Scratch's story too.
Oh, do tell. We love a good thematic parallel here on the Deep Dives.
Well, take, for instance, the Centerville incident.
Centerville. Sounds charmingly quaint for someone who, like, hangs out with interdimensional dreadlords.
And that's precisely the point. Scratch, posing as this friendly figure, Mayor Nicholas, infiltrates this idyllic town. He blends in, playing the role of a benevolent leader, all while orchestrating this truly bizarre and disturbing plan.
Okay, you can't just drop a line like that and expect me to sit patiently. What does a power-hungry sorcerer turned small-town politician Dio with his newfound influence?
He transforms Centerville into this twisted amusement park, complete with magically enslaved residents, forced to play out his whims.
An amusement park? Seriously? I mean, I knew the guy was messed up, but that's both oddly specific and kind of terrifying.
It speaks volumes about Scratch's character, wouldn't you say? He takes something so inherently innocent, so joyful, and warps it into a tool of control, a reflection of his own, like, twisted psyche. It's like he's mocking the very idea of a normal, happy life, the kind of life Agatha chose, the kind he was denied.
And what about those powers of his? We've talked a lot about Scratch's cunning, his ruthlessness, but what about the actual magic he wields? How does it compare to Agatha's?
Well, they both draw from, similar mystical energies. Scratch's magic is different, darker, where Agatha's magic feels precise, controlled, almost surgical. Scratch is like a force of nature, powerful, yes, but also chaotic and unpredictable. He's known for warping reality, conjuring terrifying illusions, even tapping into extra-dimensional entities, which, makes that whole Dormammu alliance a bit less surprising.
So he's got the raw power, the ambition, and the willingness to get his hands dirty. He's formed alliances with beings most sorcerers wouldn't go near. And yet, there's a part of me that can't help but wonder, what's the end game? What's he ultimately trying to achieve?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question. Is it simply about revenge against Agatha and New Salem? Or does Scratch crave something, not more? Something that even his considerable power hasn't been able to satisfy? Is he driven by a desire to reshape reality in his own image? To prove his superiority over his mother? Or is there a deeper, more personal wound driving him down this dark path? These are questions, listener, that you'll have to grapple with as you explore Scratch's story.
It seems like even with all the knowledge we've uncovered today, the enigma of Nicholas Scratch only deepens. It's a reminder that sometimes the most compelling villains are the ones who leave us with more questions than answers. Precisely. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The mystery. The potential for both good and evil. The constant struggle within him. Nicholas Scratch is a character that stays with you long after you close the comic book.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. We've explored the twisted path of Nicholas Scratch, from his resentment-filled upbringing in New Salem to his chilling alliances and disturbing schemes. But like any good deep dive, we're left with a sense of wonder, of wanting to explore further what truly drives Nicholas Scratch. Is he destined to be forever defined by his vendetta? Or is redemption, however unlikely, still a possibility? Those are questions we leave with you, listener. Until next time, keep exploring those dusty corners of the Marvel Universe, and be careful what you conjure.